This story comes out of Northern Ireland. Oh, this man is speaking out against the anti immigration they got going on up there, and people didn't like the stance he took, so they began to spray his house with graffiti. You know, the usual treatment they have for someone they don't like and it's not like them. And he eventually moved his house. He moved his house. Okay, let's get into this victim of racial intimidation. Hold on one second. A man whose home was dubbed with racist graffiti has moved house. Takura McConey, who has lived in Northern Ireland for more than 20 years, spoke to BBC News when anti-immigrant signs were put up in an area in Finnegy where he lived. His home was then sprayed with hate-motivated graffiti. He told BBC Radio Ulster's Good Morning Ulster program that this persuaded him to find somewhere else to stay. Mr. McConey had been living in the Finnegy area of South Belfast for almost 5 years. The signs, which read, "We had had enough of undesirables immigrants being placed into our community." Undesirables, huh? Appeared in March, and Mr. McConey reported them to the police. Mr. McConey, who works with the African and the Caribbean Support Organization in Northern Ireland, said he did not believe the views expressed on the signs were shared by the wider community. I gotta say this. I think Europe is done. It seems like how the saying they say that everything under the sun has been done again, and so on and so forth. What this reminds me of, this reminds me of the Moors coming in Spain and in lower Europe back in 7-11. But that's just my opinion. Yeah, Europe's done, man. I feel very welcome. I have made friends with neighbors and so on, he told BBC News at the time. So it's not that I felt the people around me that I know had these feelings about me, but you just feel weird. Shortly after that, graffiti was sprayed on his home, and he said he believed he was targeted for speaking out. You think? Of course you were. Takura McConey's house in Finnegy was directly targeted. This is the action of one person who can identify me. When you speak out, people target you, he said at the time. I have lived in Northern Ireland for 20 years. I am at a place now where I am confident that Northern Ireland is a place that does not want to go in this direction, into a hateful place. Oh, he's really naive, isn't he? Okay, where was I? Sorry about that. Following discussions with the housing executive, Mr. McConey was eventually given another accommodation in a different area. He says the incidents have not deterred him from speaking out against racial intimidation. These kind of incidents happen all the time, so many people who might not have access to the same resources as I do, or might not have as good English, or someone has to speak out for them. He said, "It is important for me as a community worker and someone from an ethnic minority background to speak up for those who face intimidation." Yeah, Northern Ireland. What do you expect? One thing I want to say, how the Ireland felt oppressed by Great Britain, but they still have this feeling towards others that don't look like them. He had to move his house. I guess, people do what they feels best for them. That's just not my way of thinking about things. You doing something like that to my property, me and you gonna have a problem. I guess some people deal with things differently than others, but no, you don't let nobody run you off like that. That's sad, but You got to stay and fight. You keep running, it's going to keep happening to you. Then what? They're going to finally push you out. They got anti-immigrant signs hanging up, and you disagree with it, but they ended up forcing you to move. So, like I said, that's I guess he felt what he did was best for him, but I guess we black Americans just have a different mindset about handling things. A lot of people talk about how we fled from the South, but that's not exactly true. To a certain extent, yeah, but you gotta look at the things that we were facing. They were lynching black people wholesale in the South back in the day. And probably some places still doing it, and it's just being reported as suicide. There were many occasions when someone end up leaving. It happened because they retaliated against some unfair treatment they were facing. I got stories out of my family. People just didn't lay down and take what's coming to them. They actually fought back, and when they did fight back, it was either be killed or you get somewhere else and continue living. I'll probably start telling more stories about things my ancestors did in the past, stories that have been told to me, and I try to, when I get around my people, I try to ask them questions about, things happening, like my two uncles going to the police station and having a shootout with the police for something they did to my auntie back in I think this was 69 or something. One of them got shot in the stomach. He survived, but they didn't put up with just anything. All right, I'm going to leave this here. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you on the next one.